right, joining us today on Pirate Radio Live, WNCT NCT Sports Director, host of the Brian Bailey Show, the Hall of Famer BB Brian Bailey. How you doing, sir?
Not too bad. How are you?
I am doing great. Coming off I'm tired, Bailey. I feel like I played a lot of games.
It's a lot of basketball, man.
It is
a lot of basketball.
Wall-to-wall basketball. We get to take a breath, and it'll return coming up on Thursday with the Sweet 16. Brian Bailey printed me out a trusty TV schedule.
Yeah.
Bama, BYU, the first game on Thursday. Florida, Maryland, also in that first window at 7:39. After that, Duke, Arizona, and Texas Tech. So that's what's coming up on a Thursday. And looking through those brackets, no surprise that the Duke Blue Devils have advanced to the Sweet 16, as did all the number one seeds. And I heard somebody say this, Bailey, and I agree. It's an old school tournament, and by that, all the ones blow out all the 16s. All the ones are standing. Not a lot of upsets in this tournament so far.
And really, that's probably the disappointing part.
Definitely.
Not a lot of upsets and not a lot of buzzer beaters. I mean, you can have the lack of upsets as long as you have teams that's supposed to win on a last-second shot or something. But we haven't seen a whole lot of that. We saw the shot for Maryland against Colorado State late Sunday night. And a lot of people didn't see that because it was, late at night on a Sunday night. But I think that's what March Madness is all about.
I would rather see chaos, upsets, things like that. But for those that like high-level basketball, you should be able to see some of that coming up because there are a lot of good teams with a lot of good players left, which sets up for some great matchups. And Friday games, Michigan State, Ole Miss. Ole Miss a bit of a surprise there as a 6th seed. Tennessee, Kentucky in an SEC showdown.
Yeah.
Late night, you'll get Auburn, Michigan, Houston, Purdue. So some good teams left, some great matchups left. I don't know, anything stood out to you so far with this tournament? I know on your show you said you had BYU where they are. They have been a lot of fun to watch.
They have been, and that was my best pick. My worst pick, obviously, was Clemson, the Tigers. Yeah. I really thought, Clemson had a really good year, and they were a really good team, have some really good parts. And they just didn't put it together and upset in the first round, which can happen.
Clemson, like you said, great year, great record. I had them beating McNeese State even before the Will Wade stuff was out there. A lot of folks jumped on Clemson after it was announced that Will Wade was going to take another job. I think it did the opposite for McNeese State.
I think it did too.
It brought them together. It was like,
surprised.
This is our last stand.
Yeah.
Hell, a lot of those guys will probably go to NC State with Will Wade from his team. So, and you've got players across the country now who know that they're going to enter the portal and everything too. So nowadays, a coach leaving or players thinking about leaving is not as big of a deal as it was when
it's kind of like when you're playing cards and you go through your hand and and then the hand's over. So you take all the cards and you put them back in the deck and you shuffle the deck because that's basically what you're getting these days. I mean, guys are going everywhere.
They are. And, hey, good to see East Carolina got to keep a few of their cards.
That's very good.
Jordan Riley, Trevi LeBeau, and Jay Shane Woodard will be back next year. They announced that earlier today. So a little continuity. You talked to Mike Schwartz, got his picks. He's going with his heart and his Tennessee guys and Rick Barnes. And I got Kelvin Sampson in Houston. Who's your champion, Bailey?
That'd be Duke.
Duke and John Shire, relatively young coach, but a lot of good coaches left in this thing, too, as I go down the list. Bruce Pearl, I guess, looking for his first. Chris Beard, all he does is win. He's at Ole Miss now, winning games. Izzo, as good as he is, looking for just his second national title.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah. You've got the young kid at Florida, who I think is in his upper 30s, but looks like he's 17 years old, coaching. John Calipari gets through Bill Self and Rick Pitino.
How about that? Hall of Fame Express.
Yes, sir. Matt Painter has his Purdue Boilermakers still alive. Nate Oates looking for a championship. So just a lot of big names here in coaching. We have lost a ton of big names in coaching the last 5 years, but you got some veterans and some big names left.
Yeah, I really like John Shire. I like the way he handles himself. I like the way he does. Coach K would never do the interviews, during the game or, very selective after the games. But Shire does all that, and he stands up, I think, early in the game yesterday, and he said, we're not doing some things that we should be doing. We understand what we're not doing well, and next thing you know, that was a blowout.
They blow out just about everybody. Got Arizona next, and then looking at BYU or Bama there in the East. So Bailey, how did you narrow it down today on your second chance with the Sweet 16 as far as your championship game?
So let's see. What did I go with on my? I had Duke in Florida in the championship game.
Okay.
I do remember that off the top of my head. Yeah, I had Duke in Florida. I think Florida's had a great year. I had Auburn in the mix, but I really just I like the way Duke's playing. I like the way, I think Cooper Flag's going to get healthier and healthier as the tournament goes on. I don't think he was hindered at all this past weekend, and I think they're really good.
Anything on the coverage, Bailey, that has changed since you were younger and since I was younger, certainly. Do you like the way it's set up now? I know you talked about late tip-off
Yeah,
times.
I don't like the way Saturdays and Sundays go. I think you could put some more games in the afternoon slots.
Yeah, I agree.
And you could still have some night games and everything, but the way I think Sunday went like individual game, then individual game, and then a 5 o'clock game, and then they started staggering them 6, 7, 8, and it went all the way into the night. Yeah, I can remember back, and this is going to boggle your mind. I can remember back in the day when CBS would show a game late night that had already been played. Wouldn't start till 11:30, but it had already been played. I think that was Jordan's last game. Was one of those games where CBS came at 11:30 and said we're gonna shake you to this game, and it was crazy that in this day and age when you think about it, you can get the score from 1,000 different things. But that was back in the day. It was kind of like the Olympics used to be, where they would always tape delay.
I'm with you. I think through the Sweet 16 there should always be another option. There should always be at least 2 games on at once. And yeah, I don't know why they made that change for Saturday, Sunday. I guess more primetime eyes.
I think it's just trying to get more eyeballs on it at night. But
let's get some staggered starts.
Stagger starts. Stagger them up.
Stagger them up. All right. So we will have live coverage if you're out and about on radio Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday as we dwindle down to the Final Four. When you've covered some Final Fours, right?
I have. I've gone to 3, and they're great to cover. It's awesome to get that kind of experience, especially early in my career when I'm trying to learn how to do everything and who does what, and following the guys from like REL and those guys, because they went to a slew of Final Fours obviously through the years.
So what years did you go and where did you go? And I'll try to name the championship.
Oh man, I got to go back. I went in '91 to Minneapolis, I think.
So is that Duke?
That was Duke
beating Kansas. No, beating Michigan.
I'm not sure. See, you're better at this than I am. I went. I think it was Tampa, 93?
No.
Wasn't Tampa? Where was I at then?
You talking about North Carolina and Michigan?
No, that wasn't it. I wasn't at that one.
Okay.
I was at the one where UConn beat Duke.
No, that's like 2000.
Or 99. It might be 99.
Yeah.
You're right, 99. There was one other one that didn't. I know. Charlotte, 93. That's what I was thinking of. Or 94. Charlotte's right there somewhere.
94.
Okay. And that was 40 minutes of hell.
That was Nolan Richardson in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Who'd they beat? They might have beat Carolina in the Final Four.
I think they beat
somewhere that year.
Yeah.
I can't remember who they beat.
Yeah, I was there. I can't remember. That's what happens when you get old.
All right, well, I stink at this game.
I stink at it, and I was there.
Arkansas.
But they were always fun, fun to go to and trying to, and the technology has changed so much, since we started doing that. Back in the day, you would have to get with another TV station and try to use their satellite truck to get stuff back. And now you can pretty much take your little TVU with you and do anything you want to do.
Jared, who'd Arkansas beat? Who won? What? Google up 94 Final Four. Just now I want to know. Bailey, good weekend for ECU baseball.
Yes, it was.
They get into league play, and guess what? They're 3-0.
I was amazed that the rest of the whole league, they split their first 2 games.
Yep.
So the standings after 2 games was East Carolina 2-0, everybody else 1-1, except for Memphis, and they're 0-2. And then, so everybody split.
They beat Duke.
Arkansas and Duke in the finals.
I don't remember the championship game, but I remember Scotty Thurman, and I remember
40 minutes of hell.
Corliss Williamson.
Yeah.
And some good
I remember we had to be at the championship game that night. They recommended us being there like at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon because President Clinton was going to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Because his Arkansas ties. So we were over there really, really early for a 9 o'clock tip.
Earlier in the 90s, I don't think they were on that team, but they had Lee Mayberry and Todd Day and called him Mayday. I do
Yeah,
remember that
I
at
do
Arkansas.
remember that. Yeah.
They were some bad dudes. All right, so the Pirates midweek got Duke this week. Is that
Got
right?
Duke Tuesday and then go to Rice, and that's an interesting deal.
First of all, interesting that ECU's on the road.
Right.
Which,
They haven't played many on the
we'll
road.
see how they do on the road. But, yeah, so Rice is now coached by David Pierce,
Right.
who was here a couple years ago with Texas.
Right. He was here with
Did
Texas.
he retire or get fired?
I was wondering that because when they announced it, I was trying to go back and see exactly what had happened between him and Texas. But it's a great hire for them, and evidently, they were what, 5-14 to start the year. So I'm not
Coached
sure.
by former big leaguer Jose Cruz Jr.
I'm not
and he
sure
got
how much
fired.
you can turn that thing around
Right.
in season, but I'm not sure if they won their third game of that series this weekend or not. But I know they won one game.
We're all looking at you, Jarrett. Find out what Rice did this weekend.
Hurry up. There you go.
All right, here's what you need to find out.
Exactly.
Who did Duke play in Tampa?
I remember meeting David Pierce when he was here, and interviewing him and stuff. He's a really nice guy, and he had a lot of good things to say about East Carolina and the jungle and getting ready for that super regional. And he had some hitters on that team.
And we'll see if Rice can hit because right now East Carolina's pitching stellar through 1 week of AAC play.
Really, they really pitched it well this past weekend, and good to see Coach Godwin back at third. I love Jeff Palumbo's one of the best ever, but it just didn't seem right having Cliff in the dugout, and so he was back at third. Palumbo was back at first, and the offense lit it up in Game 3
Sunday, yeah. Which I think they'll do a lot of Sundays against AAC pitching. Trying to put together a GoFundMe for Bryant Packard's bail money as he was caught coaching first illegally, apparently.
Yeah.
A weird deal there.
That was weird. And I don't know, I've always thought when you're in competition and stuff, and if a team is doing something illegal that's going to hurt your team, but, I mean, who was that going to hurt?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the deal? Why would you report that?
I have no idea. What you got, Jarrett? Anything?
Still working.
All right, Rice lost.
So they're 1-2.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Pirates in action this week. Football Pirates on the field on Tuesday, and it'll be Pro Day, and they're opening up to the public. Barely.
And 22 players will be out for Pro Day,
guys.
so that'll be interesting to see how
Our guy
that
Alex
goes.
Harper will be snapping.
Yeah, Blake Harrell was excited when we talked to him on my show for like that 5-minute deal to get his picks for the Sweet 16. But what a great, just the job that Blake did last year to get this head coaching job. I mean, the odds for him to actually, step in and get it had to be astronomically against him.
We talked about it like every week.
Yeah.
And we're like, think Blake Harrell's got a chance? Yeah, probably not. But
Yeah.
he's
And
he can put himself in a position.
Right, and the thing was, it's like when you're working with somebody that you like and you care about, and your heart's saying, hey, yeah, maybe he can get it, and you're like, no, I don't think they'll do it. But they pulled the string on it, and it was, turned out so far so good. But Blake can't wait to get back on the grass. Can't wait to get back out there coaching. And I think when you have a guy like that's just fired up, ready to go, I mean, sky's the limit.
Had a great conversation with him last week on Pirate Radio Live. If you missed it, you can watch it at your own time on YouTube. Talked to him last Wednesday on the show, and he is ready to go for spring ball, which practice beginning tomorrow.
Yeah.
Busy time.
Should be fun.
Looking forward to that. All right, BB, anything else you got going on?
No, we got Rose Conley tomorrow night too, baseball. So that'll be a good matchup as always. So I think we have 3 really good baseball teams in that big Carolina 3A, 4A, in South Central, Conley, and Rose. So they're going to probably beat up on one another, but we'll see what happens with Rose and Conley. That's always exciting. It's going to be at the Hollywood Crossroads.
All right, second chance with the Sweet 16 Brian Bailey show. If you missed it, you can check it out at 6 o'clock. What did Larry Williford and Blake Harrell and Mike Schwartz and myself and others have to say? You can listen to that show as talk some college basketball. Next week, Bailey, you said you'll be talking some spring football.
Yes, we hope.
All right.
That's the plan.
Okay. Plans can change. But
Exactly.
that is what we'll be looking forward to, along with some Pirate baseball as well. Thank you, BB. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Take care.